Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day today. In the studio, we've got something absolutely incredible. This is the GYROCK from Wild Custom Guitars. Yep, I just did that. Now, if you guys don't know who Wild Custom Guitars are, they are a small custom shop based in France. Now, they make all their guitars by hand and they make some incredible traditional guitars, but this is the GYROCK. This thing is absolutely next level. So we're going to take a close look at this guitar, do some playing, check out this incredible pickup selector, 3 different pickups per neck or bridge. Absolutely incredible. We're going to look at it in great detail, play some tones. Let's dive in. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, be sure to do so. What we're going to do now is open the case, look at all the pickup sets this thing came with, and how to mount them. All right, so let's open up the GYROCK because there's something really cool on the inside. So, I've got to say it comes in an absolute beast of a hard shell case, which is great to protect something like this. Now, the first thing you might notice, other than the really awesome paint job on the guitar, is the row of pickups. So we've got some of Seymour Duncan's most classic pickups. We've got the quarter pounds, we've got hot rails, we've got little 59 and pearly gates, we've got P90s, and then in the guitar itself right now is just one set. This is the vintage Strat set. So we've got a ton of different pickups, and they all, just click into the case so they're not flopping around, and you can just pull them out and install them on the guitar. So here's what the pickups look like, if the camera will grab that. There we go. So yeah, really cool. They have these pins which help it lock into the guitar and also into the case. So when you're not using a set, you just put them in, click them like that, and they're not going anywhere. All right, so now for the fun stuff. We're gonna load up this guitar with 6 different pickups. Now you can mix and match however you want, but I'm gonna use sets just to test it out. So we're gonna use the hot rail set, which is sort of a high output, modern kind of sounding pickup. Then we're going to use the 59 pearly gate combo, which is more of a low output PAF humbucker sound. And then we're going to use a vintage Strat set. This is the SSL2 set from Seymour Duncan. So we're going to have a vintage Strat sound, kind of vintage humbuckery kind of sound, and then a more modern sound. So let's take a look how to load this up and how the system works. Now on the back of the GYROCK, we've got a removable panel held on by magnets. Very, very cool. And that kind of exposes your mounting system for your pickups. So to mount or dismount a pickup, all you have to do is slide it to the side, and it's got a quick connect system that works absolutely amazing. So hopefully you guys can see sort of a triangular system. You push your pickup in and slide it, and it has sort of a graphic, the prongs or the contact points on the pickups, which I guess I'll show you guys this. Hopefully it'll grab it. Looks like that. Okay, so all you got to do, take your pickup, slide it into the grooves, and you're good to go. And you're ready to rock and roll, as it were. So then you can just grab your other pickups. See if I can do it this way. There we go. There's my second set. And, well, that was hot rails. Then let's go ahead. See if I can do it this way maybe. Yep. Hopefully you guys can see that. Slide it in, and we've got 3 pickups in your neck position. So this is the configuration I'm going to test out this guitar in. When we're in the forward position here, we get our vintage Strat setup. So, playing SRV, playing Hendrix, that kind of thing. Then when we go to the middle, we're in our classic rock mode. And then when we go to the back, we're in our modern high gain mode. Okay, so obviously you can mix and match these however you want, but I just thought that would make a little more sense for me. And then we've got a volume for the bridge and a volume for the neck and a master tone. And then of course we've got our main 3-way switch right here. So we've got lots of options. So anyway, this is how we're going to set it up to test it out. So the stage is set. Now, if you guys want to jump to a specific section of this demo, feel free to do that. I'll put all the times in the video description below. You guys can just jump to whichever section you want to see. Of course, we'll go through the specs of this guitar, do a bunch of tones, and maybe do a little mini teardown. I'm really curious what's behind all these panels and how this thing works. And then of course, give my final thoughts, because this guitar is, the best of traditional, guitar making, all made by hand, plus kind of made it up with this incredible engineering and ingenuity. So we'll talk about, my final thoughts there. So let's start by hitting up some of the highlights of this guitar. Now, if you want all the specs, I will link to it in the video description below. So let's start up on the headstock. Normally I wouldn't start with the truss rod cover, but check this thing out. It's absolutely amazing. It really goes with the design aesthetic of this guitar. I've never seen a cover this cool. It looks absolutely fantastic. And then on the top of the headstock, we've got the logo. And on the backside, we've got some open gear Swiss-made tuners, really high quality tuning machines. The nut is a bone nut, as you would expect on a guitar like this, cut really, really well. So the strings haven't been, hanging up in there at all. Really nice. Now we've got a nice generous volute right here, which is going to make the headstock very strong. And we've got a 3-piece maple neck. So again, very durable. On the front side, we've got ebony fingerboard with these really cool inlays. Again, kind of like nice and modern and vintage at the same time. It's kind of funny how certain designs do that. They look both modern and vintage, so I think they look really good. Frets are medium jumbo, no tooling marks, of course, on the fret ends. The frets are polished, there's no grittiness when you bend or slide. Very, very nice. Now, in terms of the body, we've got a Canadian flame maple top on a mahogany body, okay? And I'll take some shots, but you can really see how thick that maple top is when you look at maybe on either side here, if I can get my hand out of the way. But, definitely not a veneer. We've got like, half an inch of maple on this. Beautiful carved top as well with that exposed binding. Now on the back of the guitar, as you guys can see, it's a bolt-on neck with this really cool contour that kind of runs all the way through. Really helps your hand get to those upper frets, no problem. And hopefully, as you can see, you string it up just like a telly through the back. And the bridge is phenomenal. It really matches the truss rod cover. So, it doesn't matter which angle you look at this bridge from, it looks absolutely fantastic. So, the guys from Wild really did an awesome job on the hardware. We've also got a compound radius on this neck from 10 to 16, and the scale length is 25.5. All right, so now that we've got our specs and features down, let's plug it in and take it for a spin. So let's kick things off in the neck pickup. This is the Vintage Strat. Now, when we rock the Hot Reels, very different pickup. But when we add some gain, that pickup really comes into its own. So smooth and so creamy. Now when we go back to that Strat, Hot Reels, and when we go to the Pearly Gates, sort of has a mid-range thing going on. Back to that Strat. Hot Reels. Pearly Gates. All right, so now let's move over to our bridge pickups. We're gonna start with the Hot Reels. I've got my Hughes & Kettner on the Ultra channel, which is pretty heavy gain. Let's do some riffs and see if we can hear a difference between these pickups. All right, now let's go over to our little 59, see if that, is different. Yeah, definitely, more top end, not as modern sounding. Let's go back to that hot rail. Then the little 59. And I think even though we have a lot of gain, I think if we played something that was more like classic rockish, that pickup would sound awesome. All right, so now let's move on to the vintage Strat. Now, I have a gate on because I'm using so much gain, so it's gonna, seem silent like the other pickups, but it is obviously a true Seymour Duncan single coil. So if you use a lot of gain and you don't have a gate, you'll hear a lot of hum and buzz. But anyway, so let's check out a riff using that. Little 59. And back to the hot rails. Now that we've heard this guitar in isolation, let's put it in a mix. So I'm going to jam over a backing track. Link to the track, as always, is in the video description below. Here we go. Now it's time for our mini teardown. I want to know how this thing works. Let's open it up and take a look. All right, so we've got the guitar on the desk here. I'm really curious to see, what it's like on the inside. Now, I've got to say, each of these panels is incredible. You don't normally think about the back panels as being, a feature or whatever, but they're all aluminum and they're all custom etched. So you can actually feel, the ridges in the design. I don't know if it's laser etched or something like that, but not the typical fare that you would see, on a guitar. So very, very beautiful. Now, let's pop out the cover here and take a look inside. Maybe I'll take a closer shot for you guys, but everything is really nice and shielded, very, very clean. And it looks like we've got CTS 500K pots. Okay, so there we go. That's no surprise, you would assume that it would be, very, very clean on the inside for a handmade guitar, and that doesn't disappoint. Very, very nice. So to take the back main aluminum panel off, there's just a little thumb groove right there. You can just pull it up and it's held on, you know, nice and strong by magnets. So there we go. And of course, we've got all our pickups still installed. You can just, you know, move them by hand or whatever. And of course, as I showed you guys, all you have to do is that to remove, excuse me, to remove a module. And we're back ready to roll. So very, very cool. Now, what I'm most curious about is the system behind here. So let's go ahead, take that off. And again, man, the panel just feels so high quality. And it even shows like your little levers right here, patent pending. So let's take a look. All right, you guys, let's open it up and see what's underneath. So here's a quick look at what's underneath. Now, the mechanism is so cool. It's like, reminds me of something Da Vinci would drop on an ancient parchment, or maybe half steampunk, half Da Vinci. But we've got a system of belts, and the machining is just, you know, magnificent. It's so precise, and the system just works. But yeah, we've got a double kind of belt-driven system between the two different pickups. Looks absolutely amazing. Super cool. So here are my final thoughts on the GYROCK. Well, it's one thing to have an idea in your head, or perhaps something scribbled on some paper. It's a whole nother deal to actually make it happen. So huge props to those guys. And the system works incredibly well. It's very smooth, and the tones and the pickups that they chose sound very, very different from one another. So, you know, from that standpoint, it's a wild success. And, you know, disregarding that whole system, the guitar itself is just magnificent. You know, there's no two ways around it. It's a wonderful instrument. You know, but that being said, it's very exclusive, and only a few people on the planet will own one. Now, the guys from Wild let me try this out. This is not my guitar, but they're like, Darrell, take it, use it for a month or two, enjoy it. So huge shout out to the guys from Wild, because this is an incredible, incredible instrument. But it, you know, at this point, it is definitely price prohibitive. It's very, very expensive, and there's not very many out there. So it's very exclusive. But for the person who, you know, doesn't want a collection of guitars, but wants one guitar to know and love, that's the whole deal with this guitar. You know, and I've talked about this in other videos, but having multiple guitars, each with their own, you know, fret size, each with their own neck profile, each with their own weight and balance, each with their own voicing, it's actually not that easy to jump between instrument to instrument. If you have one guitar that can do multiple sounds but feels the same in terms of the neck, you know, the profile, the frets, everything, it's going to make you a better player. That's why, you know, most of our guitar heroes play one guitar or one style of guitar for their entire life, right? You just play better once you bond with a guitar. And so that's the whole point behind, you know, a system like this, to get to know a guitar, to get all the sounds you'll ever need, and to play well on it. So from an engineering perspective and a design perspective, this thing is absolutely amazing. It's this cool amalgamation between a beautiful, you know, aesthetically pleasing handmade instrument and some cutting edge engineering. Very, very cool. I hope in the future they'll be able to, you know, find some ways to maybe bring the price down so it's, you know, accessible to more people. But for the time being, one of the coolest guitars on the planet. So huge thanks to the guys from Wild Custom Guitars for letting me check this baby out. I'll have it in the studio for the next couple of weeks, so if you guys have questions about the guitar, or you want to hear different pickup sets, just let me know. Now, when this guitar first came out, I got tagged so many times saying, Darrell, check this out, you got to try it out. So huge thanks to the guys from Wild Customs. Other than that, have yourself an awesome week. Take care.